cruise out of it yet.
You and me both, my friend. You and me both.
So I've got my tools all set up down there. When I get on a high or something and I'll feel like going down there and messing with it. Hopefully it's just a dirty relay contact, but you never know.
You know, I'm getting to the point of saying, Glenn, let's you and I take a ride over by the Saluda River and drop those 2 boxes in there.
Well, they probably still have some good trading value for some solid state rigs.
Yeah, when I think what I've got invested in that thing, I shudder.
Yeah, well, I've got mostly time in mine. Mine didn't cost that much, but it was a mess when I got it. It looked like a hopeless case, but anyway, I appreciate John, K1VVC, I think, found it up in Virginia for me.
Well, this thing, you know, the price was right when I bought it, but that was 2 transformers ago.
I think I paid $1,500, and it looked like a junker. Nobody else, but they were kind of rare at the time, 6-8 years ago. They were highly sought after.
Oh, that was a good price back then.
I guess maybe it was more like 10 or 12 years ago. Time flies.
Yep.
Mine still seems to be working okay. K1VVC.
Oh, I'm glad I was kind to you.
Yeah. Glenn, how have you been? How you doing? What's happening?
Hey, well, I'm probably like Stan, kind of having to stay close because the XYL still is very sick. So, Stan, how's your family?
It's about the same as you're describing, Glenn.
Okay, N4AK is standing by for the net.
Good signal here tonight, John. Glad I can hear you.
Yeah, you're booming in here, Stan. You know, coming in like gangbusters. So I'm using the NFET antenna. I'm having a problem with the remote coax switch at the top of my tower, and I've just got to lower the tower down and tilt it over to see what's going on. But it's been too busy to do that. So speak to you later, K1VVC.
I'm glad my remote switch is at the tower, not up top.
Well, mine's 300 feet from the house. So I just want to run several lengths of coax to the base there. And it's much easier at the top, and it's been fine for the last 20 years, so it's probably about time.
All right, sounds like propagation is pretty good. CQ, 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 the old friend's net. This is Dave, WA4LLR in Burnsville, North Carolina, calling CQ, the old friend's net. This net meets 3 times weekly, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 a.m., Sundays at 6 p.m. on this frequency, and this net is conducted in the Amplitude Modulation mode and in the roundtable format. This net is an excellent place to look for parts and pieces, get information, particularly on vintage equipment and other items, and a good place of fellowship, and caters mainly to the vintage rigs, but anyone that can generate an AM signal is welcome to participate. So, CQ, the Old Friends Net. This is WA4LLR, and I'll stand by for calls.
N4LQ.
KZ4 Bravo.
N4IYQ.
WB4ARK.
K1VVC.
WB4AK.
November 4 Whiskey Delta.
WN4 PFI.
KJ4YEV.
Alrighty, let me tell you what I have. I had one double with Buddy, and Buddy won that one. I've got N4LQ, KZ4B, N4IYQ, WB4ARK, and then there was another station, K1VVC, WB4NKL, N4AK, WN4PFI, KJ4YEV. Who did I miss?
KG4IUQ.
N4WD was in there, Dave.
Okay, that may be who I missed. I got KG4IUQ. Mark, I'm going to put you between Buddy and John, VVC. I think you were the one that doubled, and I could be wrong. And I've got Whiskey W4 Whiskey Delta. Alrighty, who else? Alright, let me run down this again. I think that's N4WD instead of Whiskey 4. Okay, N4LQ, KZ4B, N4IYQ, WB4ARK, KG4IUQ, K1VVC, WB4NKL, N4AK, WN4PFI, KG4YEV, N4WD. Anyone else?
W4KR was in there.
Okay, well, I missed Brian somehow, or Stan rather. W4KR. All right, I'll put him after Bruce. Anyone else? Real quickly, LQ, 4 Bravo, IYQ, ARK, IUQ, VVC, NKL, AK, PFI, YEV, WD, KR. One more time, anyone else? Alrighty, we'll go ahead and get started. We've got about 75 degrees. Beautiful, beautiful Sunday afternoon here in Burnsville, North Carolina. Very light breeze and very few clouds, so it's been an absolutely gorgeous day. As usual, running the BC610C, receiving on the HQ150, and feeding a dipole at about 50 feet directly. So, Steve, here it comes. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
All right, WA4LLR, N4LQ. Okay, Dave. I'm sitting here watching Amazon on their tracking map. They're 2 stops away, and when he gets to my house, there'll be a severe bunch of barking from my little dogs. So it'll break out here in just a few minutes, I guess. Seems like he spends a lot of time at certain houses. Anyway, let's see. Dave, if you would take note of this, and remember you mentioning your wife was taking gabapentin, and they got me on that stuff now, and boy, it feels good. I just wonder what the deal, how that worked out for her. And it's kind of a warm day. It's 72, not too hot. Took a nice walk today in the sunshine and really enjoyed it. So, okay, John, take it away. KZ4B, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ and the group KZ4 Bravo, Fine Business Steve, booming in as usual. Gorgeous day. I took liberty to go see my brother in Hickory. I had a Bluetooth receiver to allow him to feed Pandora and other music sources to his stereo receiver input, and he gave me a Norelco shaver, which I desperately needed. And and we had Mexican, and I ate too much and enjoyed every bite. I got back in time for my daily walk with my neighbors. Beautiful, beautiful day. And on the way, I bought over $100 worth of lithium-ion flashlight and transistor radio batteries. Hopefully this is the last tranche of that stuff that I have to buy for all my test equipment, where I don't want to have to be yanking batteries in and out. Things are getting crazy expensive, that is for sure. And the meal, Chinese and Mexican are usually, it was good food, well served, but I couldn't get out of there for less than $50. And nobody had any alcoholic drinks. So the inflation is upon us, gentlemen. So on that note, over to N4IYQ in the group, KZ4B, over.
Okay, KZ4B and the group, N4IYQ. Well, good evening all the way around. Good to hear everyone. Beautiful day here. Thermometer outside is saying 86 degrees. Been quite warm and quite sunny. We've been outside a little bit today. Certainly nice propagation today. Everybody's signal is nice and clean and good and strong. We're on the Johnson Viking Ranger today, driving the SB221 at about 175 watt carrier, and receiving on the Hammerlin HQ180A. WB4ARK, buddy, to pick it up and take it, N4IYQ.
N4IYQ, WB4ARK. Well, it's a nice day today. Kind of overcast all day. Hadn't been much sun today. And still that way. We got no rain for the last couple of days. And so that's about it. Went down and worked at my son's shop today for a little bit, and finishing up some work on this boiler we're working on for a fella, and so that's about it. So over to KG4IUQ WB4ARK.
Thank you very much. This is Mark, KG4IUQ in Shelby. I hope I'm on frequency. Radio sounding okay. This is the multi-LMAX AF68 with the PMR8 receiver. I'm using a low 80 meter dipole, and I'm running about maybe 10 watts, 50 watts peak, 10 watts on the carrier. Had a good day today so far. I went to church with my wife and went to visit my mother and father. They're doing pretty good. I'm going to turn it over now to K1VVC, John. This is KG4IUQ.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mark. KG4IUQ, K1VVC. Say hey to everybody on here tonight. Dave, you're absolutely booming in. Great signal. And had a nice weekend here also. Didn't do too much. Helped my wife with a bunch of stuff she was doing with planting. I don't get too involved with it, but I've got to lug stuff around. And today my son came over and brought his Kubota tractor with him and bush hogged fields on either side of the house. Each field is, I guess, about 3 acres, and it really had to be done. And getting him down here to do it can be a chore, but he came through, so that worked out real well. And one thing I want to mention, and John, this is particularly for you, KZ4B. For not very much money, this Thursday, the 2nd, you can come and eat all the chicken livers you want at the Golden Corral, because this coming Thursday is our monthly lunch, so I want to remind everybody of that. With that, over to you, Cliff. WB4NKL, K1VVC.
K1VVC, it's WB4NKL. Okay, John. That sounds good on the chicken livers. Wished I could make it. Probably won't be able to make it this trip. I got about 82 degrees here, Chuck. Your thermometer must be sitting out in the sun. But it's been a warm day, beautiful weather, and I enjoyed it. Got out early and walked and went to town and ate lunch out with my sister. So we had a good visit. And I got back and I hooked up a Valiant 2 Johnson here. I don't know if I've had this one on the air or not. I've had it a while, but it's been sitting over here on the shelf, so I thought I'd drag it out and give it a try. So send it on around. Go ahead, Glenn. N4AK, it's WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, WB4NKL and the group, November 4 Alpha Kilo. Well, your rig sounds good, good audio. There's, you're one of the few signals that has a little QSB on it, but I'm copying everybody fine this afternoon. My Johnson 500's on the fritz, so I'm running FTDX10 and SB200, about 115-20 watts to an inverted V antenna this afternoon. I guess everybody has picked up by now that MFJ is going out of business, and I'm thinking, gee whiz, that's going to leave problems for people who want a nice little tube amplifier. But I guess some company like Mercury, the Mercury 3 amplifier seems to be very popular nowadays. But it no longer comes as a kit form. When you order it, it will come already assembled. So I had barbecue for lunch, very enjoyable. I'll keep things moving on. So dope, WN4PFI, November 4 Alpha Kilo.
Okay, Glenn, N4AK, this is WN4PFI and suches. It's a good bit cooler here than the rest of you, 64 degrees, and it's been in the mid-60s today. Sort of overcast right now, and I'm not complaining that it stayed in the 60s. I mentioned I wasn't on here last week, but I mentioned my wife and I had kept from cutting grass for as long as we could, and now we've had to cut it 3 times. So I guess it all paid off in in the end anyhow. Running the usual rig, DX60, and the Heathkit Warrior amplifier, and the receiver is the same National NC173. So let's see. I got to send it to Al, KJ4YEV. This is WN4PFI.
WN4PFI in the group, KJ4YEV. It has been a nice day down here today, guys. It's in the upper 70s. Supposed to get in the 80s next week. It's going to get warmer from what I hear. It's been a really nice week here. Partly cloudy, but not too hot. And Steve, N4LQ, you asked about gabapentin. My only comment is to be careful with that stuff. I had a good friend that was prescribed that, and I don't know what it was prescribed for. He is diabetic, but he has other problems also. But he gained about 150 pounds, and they attributed it to that, so they took him off of it. Some people can't tolerate it, but he went from 175 pounds to over 300 pounds in just a couple of months' time. So watch out. They had to take him off of it and prescribe him something else in place of it, but I just thought I'd throw that in. So I'm going to send it on over to Bruce, N4WD, KJ4YEV, over.
Hello, Bruce.
Just FYI, you were in the noise on antenna 1 and you were S9 on antenna 2, so it sure works different up here. Stan, W4KR, pick it up, WA4LR.
Thank you, Dave. WA4LR, W4KR. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Or I guess I should say almost this evening. Because of things here at the house, this is a difficult hour for me to get on, so you won't be hearing me very much at 6 o'clock. For the rest of the evening, it's always something going on here, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. Let's see, what do we know this week? I'm running the same usual stuff. No different. Won't go through it, but same stuff I've been running. Glenn, you mentioned MFJ going out. Tom Roush, W8JI, wrote two very interesting articles. One was to comment on that originally, and then after a flurry of responses that went all the way from common sense to idiocy. Tom responded, and I thought with a very interesting response. If you haven't read it, it's certainly worth reading. And forgot to mention it's 72 degrees here as well this afternoon. And John, KZ4B, we get the government we vote for. WA4LLR, W4KR.
Oh my goodness. W4KR, WA4LLR. All righty. Let me take a quick standby. Do we have any other check-ins? Come now.
W4MEC.
Recognizing Mr. Charlie. Anyone else? Charlie, go ahead and pick it up and give it back to me.
Okay, Dave, WA4LLR and the group W4MEC. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry I'm late. My daughter drove up at 5:40 with the car acting up, and I swapped the battery out with another one that I had, and she had to get 2 jumps today. But everything looked good. Alternator was putting out, and battery didn't look bad, but when I put my ammeter on, I'm reading about 750 milliamps of current with everything turned off. I know they draw a little bit of current, but I don't know if 750 milliamps is correct or not. So anyway, we'll see what happens. And I started listening just as it was turned over to Buddy, and heard all the way to the end of the list. Today, Mark is unreadable. I don't know what he's using or what antenna he's on. He is unreadable. And Bruce, when you switched to antenna number 2, you went from unreadable to S9. So I don't know what antenna 2 is, but it favors this direction. And everybody else was, Glenn was a little weak, but Q5, and everybody else was booming in. And it's 68 here, and the sun finally came out, partly cloudy, and the sun's peeking in and out of the white, fluffy clouds blowing by, so that's good. So, WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
All right, fine business. One more standby. Anyone else? Come now. W4MEC and the group, WA4LLR. Well, Charlie, sorry to hear your daughter is having car issues. Seems like she has a lot of those, but don't know if there should be a continuous drain of 3/4 of an amp. That sounds like a little much, but what do I know? Stan, sorry to hear that 6 o'clock is a difficult time for you. And Bruce, those 2 antennas were daylight and dark. I don't know if antenna 1 favors somebody in another direction, but it sure doesn't favor up this way. So antenna 2 was a good S9, and as Charlie said, antenna 1, you were in the noise. And Al, I'd never heard of gabapentin producing a tremendous weight gain like that. That's interesting. Doak, you got the cold wave going, brother. 64 degrees, my goodness. DX60 and the Warrior sounds great. Glenn, good deal on the barbecue. And yeah, sorry to see MFJ go. Some of their stuff I've had trouble with. Some of it has been pretty good. I'll always appreciate their antenna analyzers. Cliff, the Valiant 2 sounds great. John, fine business. Thanks for the signal report. Good deal on helping your wife with plants and your son bush hogging. Mark, I'm curious. I think you said you were running 10 watts carrier on your AF68. Is that intentional? I'm wondering. Most of the time, you can get 30, 35 watts out of them, but maybe it's on purpose. Buddy, good deal on working on the boiler in your son's shop. And Chuck, that Ranger sounds great. I heard it when Cliff was working on it, and it sounds really good now. John, fine business on the trip to visit your brother in Hickory, and lunch. And Steve, you were asking about my wife's experience with gabapentin. It didn't work out for her. It didn't do what they gave it to her to do. It didn't help in any way, so she was only on it for a short period of time. The first dose was pretty massive that they gave her, and it kind of put her in the ozone, and then they cut it back to about 1/3, and it didn't make her loopy, but it didn't help any either, so she got off of it. Well, let's see here. Been a good week. Got several things done. Had the second mowing. We put it off as long as we could, Doak. I think you were the one who said you put it off as long as you could. But we just did our second one, so it's not been too bad. And The new dog is doing pretty well. He's very close to being completely housebroken. He very seldom has an accident. Some days he'll go and there won't be one, and then all of a sudden there'll be a mess up, but he's doing really well. So space weather, well, let's see, our sunspot count's 126. Solar flux index is 140. The K is 0.67, so it's pretty quiet. This day in history, on this day in 1945, Benito Mussolini was executed. On this day in 2001, Dennis Tito, American businessman, became the first space tourist. Paid $20 million for a 6-day trip to the International Space Station. On this day in 1967, in the height of the Vietnam War, Muhammad Ali refused to be inducted in the Army, citing religious reasons. On this day in 1952, Allied occupation of Japan came to an end. On this day in 1947, Norwegian ethnologist and adventurer Thor Heyerdahl and his crew set sail from Peru on board the primitive raft Kon-Tiki and arrived Polynesia 3.5 months later. On this day in 1881, Billy the Kid escaped from prison in New Mexico. And on this day in 1789, the mutiny on the Bounty occurred. So that's enough of this day in history. So back down to you, Stephen. 4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, N4LQ, and Shelby. Well, Amazon got here and brought me a new microphone extension arm to clamp onto a shelf and pull out. It's kind of short though. I'm not too sure if it's going to work or not, but it got here, and I went outside when I watched on the map, and I went outside to catch the guy, and he went right past me and turned into the lower part of the other side of the yard, and I had to walk all the way around and finally caught up with him, and I've got it here, but I haven't finished installing it yet. I've been messing with this. This is a CalRad microphone, little cheap microphone that's supposed to look like a big RCA AR-77. It's a crystal mic, looks like a big capsule, like a pill capsule or a peanut or whatever, and it's got two crystal elements in it that are, one's facing down, the other one's facing up, and you talk right through them. So it's kind of an odd microphone, but it's crystal, and it should sound like a crystal mic, I guess. And I want to ask Stan where we can find this comment by W8JI. Did he retract his negative statements? Because I've seen some of the stuff he's written about he gets frustrated with the amplifiers, and I think he was involved in designing some of those early on and kind of got away from it, and they changed some things, and he wasn't too happy about it. So you might let us know where we can find that comment from him. They have got so many products, hundreds and hundreds of products, very big catalog, and I've owned a lot of it, still do. And I never had any problem with it. Every now and then you'll see something that you wonder why they did it this way or that way, or maybe you'll find a screw that fell loose or something not soldered good. But I think you have to look at the big picture. And most of these things were made or manufactured by college students from Mississippi University who were hired part-time. And it would be very difficult for somebody to take over the operation because of everything Martin knew was in his head, I guess, and it's not normal. It's kind of a one-man show, as they say, a one-man band. So And Mark, I didn't get to hear your signal, but yeah, N4WD, all I heard was antenna 2. As soon as you said that, you came up. So obviously antenna 2 is doing the job. So over to John, KZ4B, who probably is not happy, N4LQ.
In the group KZ4 Bravo, fine business, Steve. You win the prize for the strongest signal today. You're actually beating Dave and Cliff, which is hard to do. And speaking of Cliff, the Viking 2 does sound good, but there is some QS Baker, which is obviously not the transmitter's fault. So there. And on the let's see, I was going down here. Stan, amen, but I'm innocent. I'm not guilty. We'll leave it there. I would like to know more myself, shifting gears, about W8JYI's comments. I assume his name is Tom. I'll Google him, and if I don't get more information. And Charlie, shifting gears again, I wanted to comment on your daughter's car. If she is drawing 750 milliamps, then that's 20 amp hours roughly over a 24-hour period. And a very large battery, like in a truck or a luxury car, is typically about 60 amp hours. So if she's not driving that car frequently, several times a day, that's going to bleed down very quickly. So I'd say that's too much. Usually, you can, if you're working on a car and want to keep the computer up, you can buy a little doohickey or plug that has a 9-volt transistor battery. And 750 milliamps, I think, would drag that down probably almost instantly. So it sounds like a bit too much leakage. A lot of smaller cars, and I don't know what she's driving, the batteries are in the range of 35 to 45 amp hours at 12 volts, of course. So, enough said on that. Good luck with your daughter's car. My daughter's car has given me some trouble, but I've found a local mechanic that is honest and good. Now, where do you find an honest mechanic anymore? I mean, I couldn't find an honest mechanic 50 years ago. So, I'm in hog heaven now on that. So, back to, let's see, from here to, is it Dave? Have I got your name right? N4LYQ, KZ4 Bravo, over.
Okay, KZ4 Bravo and the group N4LYQ, it's Chuck. And fine business all the way around. Glad the new dog's doing well, Dave. That's always a challenge to get them situated. Usually, if there's another one around, they'll kind of follow their lead. We played that game with a shelter dog, but she's didn't take too long, and she's fine business now. And the Mexican food sounded pretty good, John. I like Mexican. Eat it quite often. Glad you got to visit with your brother. And Dave, thanks for the comments on the Ranger. With a great technician, it's great to have him in the neighborhood. And I got a T connection from him today to run to the dummy load to attenuate the Ranger before the amplifier. So playing with that, looks like the plate shows a little bit higher on the Ranger. Run it that way, and then I thought, well, how am I going to key the amp? So I had some of these call cord, like you'd use in a nursing home cords, and so I'm squeezing the button and squeezing the microphone. It's working. Just another thing to learn with the boat anchors. As Cliff says now, I really do have a boat anchor now, although not as heavy as some of the others have. And Buddy, surprising no rain down that way. And Mark, I did struggle a little with you last go around on the AF-68. And John, I'm sure the wife appreciated you helping with the planning, and I'm sure you did appreciate the son doing all the bush hogging. And Cliff didn't realize you had lunch with your sister, although I didn't get an invite, but, you know, there you go. I got out yesterday and dug up 3 rose bushes and 1 piece of shrubbery. The middle daughter, even though she's a school teacher, does some landscaping and mows about 13 or 14 yards a week. She said, Dad, you need to get rid of all those plants and all those shrubs. Just let the grass go to the house, because, as she says, hurt her daddy's feelings. You ain't getting no younger to keep up with that stuff, and she's right, but it sure did kick my hiney yesterday. We kind of took it yesterday evening kind of easy. And I looked at the temperature on the weather, Cliff, it's 81 degrees, showing 85 on mine. It's hanging under the deck. I guess doesn't get enough ventilation, probably builds up a little heat under there. And I'm glad you had a nice week. Dave, good to hear you all the way around. And Stan, hope things improve with your wife there. And Charlie, I'm sure you'll get it all figured out. Hey guys, I need to make a trip and run over to Kingsport to drop something off. So let me say good evening all the way around. Appreciate the camaraderie and the friendship and all the support as always. So WB4 ARK, Buddy to take it, N4IYQ. Consider me signed. Good day.
N4IYQ, WB4 ARK. Okay, well, John didn't mention this exactly. I mean, he did kind of mention around it, but the computer in the car needs a certain amount of current to keep its memory up. So you gotta keep that going. And I got a car that I keep a battery charger on. It's a small charger, but it keeps it fully charged for weeks on end when I'm not driving the car. And so I would suggest buying something like that and keeping the car charged if she doesn't drive the car that much. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it. If she drives it every couple of days, should be good to go. I've got an issue with a power supply that I'm working on, and got a capacitor that's not doing too well, so I'm going to replace that, and we'll have this unit up and running correctly here shortly. I think that's all I've got to say. I don't have anything else. We might not be here on the next go around, so thanks Dave for doing the net, and really appreciate it. Look forward to getting your rig this Thursday. So over to KG4IUQ, WB4 ARK.
This is KG4IUQ, Mark in Shelby. Dave, you were asking me, am I intentionally running 10 watts? Well, I've changed my power now, using a linear, so I'm putting out more than that. But I would say I just, by habit, had it down low, but you see, I was intentionally keeping the load set low because sometimes I was using a amplifier and I felt like it was the best idea. And I wonder, Dave, you mentioned during the last net that I was on that you thought WA4FTY is the go-to man for the Harvey Wells, and I wonder, is that person's name Wayne? I know that Doak has given me Roy's number, and I've talked to him, and I believe he said that Wayne is going to be the name of the person that he was going to get the phone number for, but I haven't really done a good job at calling him back on that, and I believe it must be WA4FTY, and I wonder if he checks into this net ever. Everybody's sounding good. Steve, you're sounding good. John, KZ4B. Inflation you mentioned, and I'm concerned about that, the inflation. I can't believe what's going on in our society with this inflation. John K1BBC, you're sounding very good here. And NKL, Cliff, you sound very good. And Glenn in the Attic Shack, you mentioned MFJ going out. I'm concerned about that in a way. You see, I started out as a shortwave listener back in about 1989, and MFJ was one of the first things I ever bought. Bought a kind of a random wire antenna tuner, and I've noticed that everything going more towards, it's always been going towards people can't work on their own equipment, and somehow I kind of tie that in with the MFJ. I don't know why, but I'm afraid it's going to get to where you can't even find any electronic components. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but I've been working with the Harvey Wells, and I've discovered that the radio works fine. I mean, I think if I use the VF1, VFO, and whatever the voltage that it's putting out, this thing will have good modulation on most any of the bands. And if I try to use my homebrew VFO with an amplifier or transformer with it, it's just not working as well. So I know the VF1 VFO works quite well with AM on this Harvey Wells. And right now I'm on the multi-LMAC AF68. Okay, I'm going to turn it over now to John, K1VVC. This is KG4IUQ.
Very good, Mark. KG4IUQ, K1VVC. Well, first of all, Wayne, WA4FTY, did a lot of work with the Harvey Wells, made some really neat equipment. But I'm going to say about, and he's a very, very nice guy, but about 5 or 6 years ago, he had a fairly severe stroke, and that's really incapacitated him. He's been on the net several times. He gets on occasionally, but not what I would call frequently. But you could always call him on the phone and get a hold of him. He's a very, very nice person to talk to, so I'm sure he wouldn't hesitate to discuss any Harvey Wells-related things with you. So you might want to try giving him a call. Other than that, I hope I'll see a bunch of you Thursday. If anybody needs any parts or tubes or anything that I've got, let me know beforehand, and I'll try and bring them. And other than that, I'm going to I'll listen for a couple of minutes, but I got to sign off. We're having kind of a late dinner. And Charlie, 3/4 of an amp is way too high. You get something else that's draining power in that, and worst comes to worst, you could always buy a switch to disconnect the battery, but you know that would be like a last resort. But that's much too high, current draw for an automobile battery. With that, over to you, Cliff. WB4NKL, K1VVC.
K1VVC, that's WB4NKL. Now that'd be close to 10 watts. You ought to be able to feel some heat somewhere on some kind of a component. I would think 10 watts of heat. I guess time to start pulling fuses, Charlie. see where that currents are going to. I guess I'll get out too. We're having a late supper dinner here, so we usually eat about 6 and postponed it there for the net, so no problem. I can work around it. And thanks for calling it, Dave, and enjoyed it. Try to catch everybody there Tuesday. Go ahead, Glenn. N4 AKs, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, WB4NKL in the group. November 4 Alpha Kilo. It's 74 degrees over here in Sunset. It's been a very beautiful day. This week, the XYL had to have an X-ray. She's confined to a bed. So, buddy, this is interesting for you. You know how the big portable X-rays, the first Picker had one right after World War II, and Field Hospitals had them, and then GE kind of probably had the best portable in the hospital. But they brought a portable X-ray that had very big wheels, roll right up steps, worked on 110 volts. It was all digital. The cassette that you put behind the patient had a wireless connection. When the X-ray hits the cassette, it created an image, and then by wireless Blu-ray, it transmitted it to the TV monitor. It was a company called SourceRay Incorporated. I figured it'd be a big name company, but it was SourceRay Incorporated, and the transformer just worked on 110, so with a chest X-ray they did it 80 kV and 50 MA. It was a beautiful image. Anyway, so much for that. I was just interested in it, fellas, because I retired in the X-ray business in 1995. There have been a lot of changes since then. MFJ, I've had very good luck with MFJ products. And I got a lot of little gadgets, Sky with a catalog, and you'll find stuff in there that you wouldn't believe. And kind of rumored that Gigaparts would probably take a lot of their inventory and may continue some of the inventory that's made in Taiwan. You probably noticed a lot of the switches and other things was constructed in Taiwan. Bruce, no question about. Antenna 1 must have been on the dummy load. Antenna 2, you jumped up to S9. Whatever it is, you might let us know. Anyway, and you mentioned the Kontiki, Dave. I think the Kontiki had an NC173 national receiver on board run by a battery. I believe that was a configuration, and they used that ad for several years, bragging about the national receiver on Kontiki. For those of you that have Kenwood products, like page 116 in the May issue of QST, there's a company that's making boards for like the Kenwood TS930 and 940 series, power supplies, drivers, and the TS2000 is known to have driver problems from time to time. They couldn't get enough transistors. So he's having boards made for the TS2000, Charlie, the driver board. His call is Kilo 6 India Oscar Kilo.com, K6IOK.com, for people with Kenwood radios, older ones. So that's keep them going for a while. So thanks, Dave, for doing the net for us today. So down to you in Suches, where it's cooler. WN4PFI and 4AK.
Okay, Glenn. N4AK, this is WN4PFI and Suches. And Bruce, I concur with everyone else. You need to stay with antenna 2. It is. I've got good copy on you here. The Globe Chief and the Globe Modulator. I've just got the most of the connections in it, the hardware on the modulator, and getting ready to attach the transformers and get started on the wiring. So it's slow. I'm slow with that, but it's coming along. I saw an interesting little short movie on Turner Classic. It's called Patrolling the Ether, that we watched. My wife and I watched it here lately, and most of all, you may already be familiar with it, but it was during World War II with the closure of all operations by amateur radios during that war, and the recruitment that they did with a lot of hams to join the Radio Intelligence Division of the federal government, and we watched that. It's not very long. It's sort of interesting. I saw some of the old national, maybe a old Hamlin receiver, but then it turns into a little spy movie about tracking down some Germans that have infiltrated the country and are sending messages back to submarines. But just an interesting little clip there. Patrolling the Ether. So I don't see many old movies on that have a lot of amateur radio equipment in them. Charlie, on the battery drain, I have an issue with the battery on my old pickup truck. It's a 2002 model. I've had mechanics keep it. I've had 5 different mechanics keep it. I've had 4 the manufacturer keep it, and they cannot find what's wrong with it. It was a lemon. I bought a lemon that came from California, and Georgia does not have a lemon law against used vehicles. So I bought it, and I've had trouble with it. I've had mechanics pull every single fuse, and it still has battery drain. It'll kill a battery in 2 or 3 days if you just leave it hooked up. So I've had to pull a kill switch on, put a kill switch on the battery. If I'm not going to run it for a few days, I usually just cut it off. But I did find out what the problem is. I think we've discovered it's got FORD on the front of it. No offense to you folks that like Ford vehicles, but I think that's what the problem is. Dave, I'll be out of here after this. Thank you for calling in there. It's good to hear everybody on, and I'll be listening to the end. Hope you all have a good week. KJ4YEV, Al, go ahead and pick it up. This is WN4PFI. Be clear. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
WN4PFI and the group, KJ4YEV. I too am saddened to hear about MFJ shutting down. I've always used MFJ tuners. I'm using one right now. It's a little 300 watt tuner. It's always done me real well. This antenna's set up for 3885, and I need a tuner to tune down this low on it, but it may come to a point where we have to start building our own gear again. That's the way it used to be. And Charlie, regarding that battery drain, I have a 1993 Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck that does the very same thing. As long as I start it about once a week, it'll start up just fine. If I let it go 2 weeks, the battery is completely dead. And I think my problem is either the clock or the radio. Neither of them work, and the brain for both of them is a box inside the cab. It's really hard to get to. It's on the inside firewall right behind the brake pedal. I replaced it one time, and that fixed it for a while. And then it got back to doing the same thing. So the clock and the radio don't work, and something's pulling the battery down. I think it's that radio staying in the on mode, even though it's not working. But like I said, as long as I start it just once every 2 weeks or so, it'll start up just fine. So that's what I've been doing. Occasionally I'll have to put a charger on it. But anyway, I'll pass it on to Bruce. Bruce, if you can hear me, N4WD, this is KJ4YEB. Over to you.
Okay, no problem whatsoever. N4WD, no problem whatsoever. Okay, now we got that out. All right. Well, Steve, you hadn't heard me on 160 because the inverted L for 160 is now an inverted L for 80 up. I put a 49 to 1 on it, and 1.5 up to about 3.5 on the high end, up to 10 on it. So I think I'm gonna leave it there for a while since it's noisy here for 160 for me right now. Do that, or I'll go out there and put a jumper on it. Well, all I gotta do is move the coax, really. So that was the difference from the off-center fed to the inverted L. Hope everyone has a finished good weekend. The gentleman was talking about the radio or the clock. Some cars use the radio and dash as part of the mechanism for the door locks. And if you ever change the radio, you have to have it programmed so it'll stay with the car you're with to work with your locks and all. I never figured that one out. But they're weird. The alternator doesn't have a leaky diode in it. But everyone have a good rest of the weekend, and hopefully we'll catch you during the week, either on here or one of the other bands. Everyone have a blessed rest of the day. And I think it goes down to W4KR, N4WD.
All right, this is W4KR. Bruce, I didn't comment before. Antenna 2 was, like everybody else been saying, is a night and day difference. Okay, got a bunch of notes here. John, KZ4B. Was not aiming at you particularly. I think I said we get the government we vote for. So I was trying to include everybody in there, not picking on you, my friend. Yeah, that's it's ugly. It's ugly, and a whole lot of reasons for it. Whole lot of reasons for what's going on there. None of them logical, and none of them good. Let me see. Let's see. What's next? Tom Roush. W8 Japan India, W8JI. Charles Thomas Roush is his name. And Bruce, where I found that was on Facebook, in the ham radio operator section of Facebook. He put two lengthy comments in there, and he didn't rehash history. He was just talking about the present, the general state of amateur radio and where the future lies. Glenn, you indicated that maybe Gigaparts is going to be in there. There's one of the senior folks up at Gigaparts worked for a number of years for MFJ, and apparently it's pretty good. Got a pretty good head on his shoulders, and in fact, Tom indicated that his departure from MFJ may have had something to do with the beginnings of the end. They are gonna keep. Martin Chu is committed to keeping the service operation going, both for warranty and post-warranty work, but that's going to be the end of it. Let me see. Let me go on down the list. Okay, speaking of companies changing hands, Harbaugh Electronics is now owned by the amplifier guy out in Los Angeles, and I don't know what his call is. He shipped out an email the other day also saying that transition has occurred, and he's going to continue with what W8CQ is doing in as far as all the boards and the power supply kits and stuff for Harbaugh. That's going to continue. Tom Roush was the designer of the amplifier of the RF sections for the AL82, the AL1200, the AL1500, and the AL80B, which are all winners. All of that whole particular line was winners. The 1200 kind of got out of whack a little bit because the tube got so expensive, but the tube seems to last forever, so probably doesn't make all that much difference. And let me see. John, one other comment. He's at 4B. Can't find a good mechanic. I'll tell you, there's the Honda dealer in Anderson's got a whole building full of great ones. They're really good down there, and they know what they're doing, and they're honest, and they don't pad the bills. With that, Charlie. Charlie, your daughter's battery situation. I've noticed with our CRV, and because the garage is under the house here, and occupies part of the basement. Every once in a while, I hear a little motor running in there, and I asked the guys what that was, and there's a low volume air pump in that system that keeps the pressure up in the fuel system, the fuel tank and the like, and it's for pollution control. And I've noticed if the car sits for many days in a row, the battery, the radio goes wacky, and I've got to reset it. I don't know if that's the voltage going down or what. Anyway, Charlie, here it comes. Take care. W4MEC, W4KR.
Okay, Stan, W4KR in the group, W4MEC. Alrighty. Real good on the comments for the battery. Yeah, I'll have to watch it. It just started today, and she drives the car every day to work or to wherever, so it starts. And I queried her about did she leave the dome light on or something like that, but she said she needed 2 jumps today, one this morning and one later this afternoon. And but she drove it up here to pick up her daughter and came over here to the house, and it started every time, so it could be something as simple as a battery going. The one I put in there is a newer battery. It's from a roll car, and I'm going to see what this battery does from the car. It could very well have an internal short or something, even though it looked pretty good on a meter, but it was being charged by the alternator. So, and we did check for things like lights stuck on. Even I noticed something funny was that even though opening the passenger doors in the 4-door sedan, it's a 95. I don't know what it is. It's a 95 Mercury Sable. I don't know, something like that. And even opening the rear passenger doors turns something on. And there's no lights come on. There's no lights in the door panels or nothing, but opening the door increased the current, closing the door went back down. So, that could be an indicator that a door was ajar. Who knows? But anyway, I'll watch it, see what happens. MFJ, I kind of read that letter that said that's Ameritron, High Gain, Cushcraft, and their kit company are all going under too. My first thought was, well, why didn't he offer it to the employees and have them take it over and run the company and keep things running? But that's like I said, that first letter listed all those companies that are going with MFJ out of business. So, no Cushcraft they've been around forever, and that'd be like, well, Heath Kit's gone, but Collins is gone, what's left? It'd be like the ARRL going. So, and I don't know who that fella is you're talking about that has comments about the status of ham radio, but and what he said, but it surely has changed, especially in the VHF area when everybody has disappeared except for FT8. And even when the band's open, they're still banging away on their keyboard if it's not doing it automatically, and nobody's on sideband or CW. So, I don't know. I guess FCC could just change all the ham bands into several independent frequencies and let everybody use a computer and don't even use voice and code, you know, just the way it's going. So, we'll see what happens, but anyway, I'll hold off to the end here. With this stuff, and hope we're still allowed to do it. I noticed something about 60 meter band might be going away. ARRL wanted you to write about that. I have actually used 60 meters one time, but after that, it's too much of a hassle. And I used it with my Drake T4XC and R4C, and I had a frequency counter to make sure I was exactly where I needed to be, and I think I made a couple contacts, but I said, this is too much work, goodbye. So if I want to operate something that's channelized, I'll get a CB rig. So anyway, I guess I'm still tail end Charlie. WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
Alrighty, W4MEC and the group, WA4LLR. Okay. Well, Steve, glad Amazon showed up. And, John, I have an honest mechanic. I'll have to admit that, and I'm very thankful for it. Let's see. Mark, I apologize, but the first half of your transmission was in noise, so I couldn't copy until the end. Let's see here. And Glenn, you're correct. 173 on the Kon-Tiki. I've read that book I don't know how many times. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I like the Raw Expeditions too. His Reed boat. He was something else. Let's see. I think Doak signed out. I was going to comment on Patrolling the Ether movie. I've seen that. That's pretty neat. And Bruce, okay on changing your InFed 160 to a multiband for 80 and up. And yeah, it's amazing how much draw off the battery with the thing turned off cars have now. Like Buddy was talking about the computer, and then you've got those door locks that you know, the receiver for that's got to be running all the time, and on and on and on. Well, we're running a little late, but we'll go ahead and do a quick 73 round. We've had a lot of people sign out. So, Steve's still here, John's still here, and John, KZ4B, you'll turn it over to Mark. KG4IUQ, I believe he's still there. And Mark, you'll turn it to Glenn. Let's see. I'll tell you what, John, KZ4B, check and see if Buddy's there, but if he isn't, it goes to Mark, KG4IUQ. And Mark, you'll turn it to Glenn, N4AK. Glenn, you'll give it to Al. I believe he's still with us, KG4YEV. I think Stan signed. I believe he did. But, Al, you can see, and it would go over to Charlie from there. So let's do a quick 73 round. N4LQ, WA4LR.
Okay, it's N4LQ doing a quick 73 round here. And first of all, I congratulate Bruce on discovering the InFed half-wave antenna. And I want to tell you, I have never, ever heard you this strong up here on 80 meters at this time of day. Absolutely amazing. What a difference the InFed half-wave made over the off-center fed thing. So congratulations. Gabapentin, I took it 2 nights now, and I have never slept so well in my life. I've been having all this leg pain and nerve pain and stuff, and it just totally went away, and I slept all night. Just totally amazes me. And I'm able to walk with part of the pain gone. It takes up to 2 or 3 weeks for this stuff to take effect. Now, I hope I don't end up weighing 350 pounds, but if I see that coming on, I'll make some adjustments. You can believe that. All right, let's see here. Patrolling the ether has been discovered again. Yeah, okay. I guess with that, we'll say 73s and turn it over to KZ4B, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ in the group, KZ4 Bravo. Fine business, Steve, booming in as usual. Mark and, or rather, Stan and Bruce, no offense was taken regarding the comment on inflation. I have thick skin anyway, but there was nothing to be offended regarding your comments. And I was just showing my arrogance that I am sure that I know how to vote correctly, even if other people don't. So the offender, if there is one, is me for being arrogant. And and I'm sticking with it. So, shifting gears, on the problem with the battery discharging, I have a 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee with the 5.9 liter truck motor, special edition, and it can't sit more than about a week without pulling the battery down, and for the reasons discussed. And Northern Hydraulics has a 1.5 amp pulsing battery charger, and it usually goes on sale for about $20 or $30 every now and then. And when it's not on sale, it's a ridiculous price of $50. But that keeps it up quite nicely, and it's capable of putting out 1.5 amps. So that doesn't solve the problem, but it fixes it. And my daughter has had a lot of battery problems, and one thing was the vanity mirror on the sun visor. When there's a cover over the mirror, so if the cover's up, the light comes on. But if you put the cover down, if you don't put it all the way down, the light's still on, but you can't see it. And that's driven me crazy. And also, I had a bad switch in the glove box. It had a light. And of course, with the glove box closed, you can't see the light. So those were two things that drove me crazy and got fixed. Shifting gears, when you have a strong industrial base, then parts abound. 50 years ago, when I was in Akibahara, the grain field in Japan, there were electronic and radio stores everywhere in this one district. Well, there's a district just like that in China, in Shanghai, and that blows Akibahara in the weeds. And I mean, there's everything there, and I think it has to do with the industrial base, and ours is imploding. We don't make anything anymore, so nobody needs anything for industry, so there's nothing available for the hobbyist. So, enough said on that. Thanks for calling the net, Dave. You always do a good job. Hope everybody has a great week. And John, I'm losing my chauffeur, so I'm gonna have to drive myself to Steve's house, but my car knows the way, so I may make it love to eat those chicken livers. So how's that for a non-brief closing round? So if you're there, buddy, take it away, and if not, then Mark, you take it. WB4ARK or KG4IUQ-KZ4, be clear. I guess they're both gone.
Sounds like it's going to me. This is KG4IUQ, Mark. John, I watch a lot of TV news, and I hear a lot of stuff about inflation and that kind of thing, and that I get concerned about what I see on TV. Sometimes you hear people talking about it, and I'm thinking about all the stuff I've heard on television news. I hope you have a good day. I know, John, let's see here. Let's see. I know I need to call on the phone WA4FTY if I get a chance, and I'm going to do that. And been doing a garden, getting the garden going. I'm going to enjoy that. It's kind of hard work. I have to work 10 hours a day, but I'm not going to let that stop me. And we're going to have some watermelons, corn, and tomatoes. It's been a good net. I am going to turn it over to Glenn, N4AK. Glenn, N4AK. Take it. This is KG4IUQ.
Okay, thanks for turning it over. It's been enjoyable this afternoon. Certainly has. And the website for Tom Roush, W8JI.com, has a lot of good information on there, not just about amplifiers, but about boat anchors and ballons and antennas. So it's a nice website, so you might jot that down in your little book of ham radio websites. You might be interested in perusing that. So thank you very much, Dave, for calling the net for us this afternoon. I got a little email from Ray, and he's doing okay, but he said conditions were not very good down there, so he didn't check in. So, Al, KJ4YEV, over to you, November 4, Alpha Kilo.
N4AK in the group, 73 guys. It has been a great net, as always. Propagation seems to be changing. When the net started, I was hearing the Tennessee stations really strong, and the local stations not so strong, and now it's kind of going backwards from that. The local stations are coming in a lot stronger, but funny how propagation works. But anyway, that's radio, so I enjoy it. 73 all you guys. Look forward to talking to you again next week. KJ4YEB. I'm not sure who's left in here. I was handing it over to Bruce in N4WT. I think he may be gone, and Stan, I'm not sure about W4KR. If not, it goes to Charlie, W4MEC. So somebody pick it up, KJ4YEB.
KJ4YEB, good signal today. Al, W4MEC 7-3 all. We'll see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Okay, that was short and sweet. 7-3. Everybody have a great one. Enjoyed it. Lord willing, we'll catch up with you on... No, I won't. I've got Mo's surgery on Tuesday early morning, so I doubt seriously if I'll be back in time for the net. But enjoyed it today. Thank you for your participation. Always a great crowd, so 7-3, God bless, and we'll catch you maybe face-to-face at the luncheon on Thursday. So this is WA4LR, Dave in Burnsville, closing this session of the Old Friends Net, 7-3.